Welcome back to Elevating Your Mindset with Tamika Brewington. This week, we're going to be talking about understanding money anxiety with young adults. The first thing we have to do is give you a working definition of what money anxiety looks like, right? Okay, so money anxiety is the persistent worry of stress about finances, regardless of actual financial status. It is not always about how much money you have or how secure or confident you feel about managing the money. Some of the common symptoms of money anxiety is obsessing about your budget, avoidance of financial topics, guilt about spending, or under earning due to fear. And so when you're thinking about money anxiety, I think about it with my young professionals, like they're coming out of college, they could be coming into an entry level position. That entry level position may not be something that is in their field, or they may not be earning as much money as they thought that they would be earning. And so when you're graduating, you're moving out, you may or may not have some student loan debt, and then you're trying to manage what life looks like coming out of a student role, right? Some of the pressures look like you're moving into a new environment, you are managing rent, you're managing bills, you're managing a household. You could just be renting by yourself, or you could have a roommate. But the unstable job market and managing all of those household bills, where when you were in college, you may have just been paying tuition and everything was covered, or you could be having your family assisting you with some of those finances. It just looks very different. And so those first couple of years coming out of a student role versus a young adult role can be very stressful. Some of the other things that contribute to having money anxiety as a young adult could be looking at social media, looking at people who are posting and they are quote unquote living a completely different lifestyle than what you're doing. They are going on trips. They have luxury vehicles. Their apartment definitely does not look like your apartment. It looks like they are living in an abundance and you are just barely making ends meet. And so sometimes you feel overwhelmed from that perspective because you're comparing what your finances look like versus their finances. And that is kind of hard when you're saying, well, okay, we're the same age, but their lifestyle looks completely different than mine. And I don't understand what I am doing wrong. You start internalizing and you start stressing out about what's going on or what are you doing wrong because your lifestyle doesn't necessarily look like their lifestyle. That lack, sometimes people have a lack of financial education, right? Maybe your family didn't teach you about financial literacy, or there was a lack in your family of origin when it came to finances and things from that perspective. Sometimes people are given monies or they have an inheritance that puts them in a better position than what you had when you came out of school and were coming into your first entry level positions. And so that looks hard. Sometimes those internalized family messages about money can also contribute to money anxiety for young working professionals. Money doesn't go on trees. We can't afford that. Some of those core beliefs that were unspoken or that were ingrained in you can spill over to you as a young adult, and you are unconsciously living with those core beliefs and you've never really took a look at how you view money or what you were told about money. And so you are living your life with reference to those core beliefs and you've never taken a look at them to see if those are actually some things that you need to change or that you subscribe to them in your present day life. The psychological effects of money anxiety is definitely something that you need to take a look at when you're trying to establish who you are and find your financial identity as a young adult. The constant stress of money anxiety can definitely impact your decision making. It can impact what your relationships look like, whether they're interpersonal or romantic. It can impact your sleep cycle, and it can also impact your physical health. Sometimes people lose sleep worrying about money. It can also, cause you distress in your physical health. It can lead to emotional spending. It can also cause you to be very, very frugal, to not spend money, to hold on to money, to not take care of your basic necessities for fear of not having enough money. Um, Emotional spending is when you will say, well, I deserve this. I deserve to go on a trip and put it on a credit card, or not pay your rent because you feel like you should be able to do things just like everyone else when it is not necessarily in your budget. And it's not necessarily something you should be doing, but you feel like you deserve to do it. Having money anxiety can also trigger imposter syndrome. It can make you feel like you're a failure, even when you are being very successful. The imposter syndrome is like you don't feel like you belong. You don't feel like you are successful when you are successful, and you're feeling like you need to prove that you belong to be in this social circle, or that you need to prove that you deserve to be making the money that you're making. When we're thinking about money anxiety and how it impacts every aspect of your life, and when it impacts how you make different moves and decisions for yourself, you have to figure out how you're going to take control of that. You have to figure out how you're going to reframe it, but you also have to recognize that you have money anxiety. Sometimes people are operating at a deficit and don't even know that they're operating at that deficit until it's pointed out. You can be hyper vigilant about money and think that that is the status quo and the norm. And so, if any of this is resonating with you, I want you to stay tuned, keep thinking about what I'm saying, and then we're going to take a look at how you reframe your money mindset as a young adult. All right, so let's normalize and validate some of the things that we have been talking about when we're thinking about money anxiety as a young adult, right? We're going to look at some strategies and some practical tools on how we want to reshape the way that we look at money. How do we overcome money anxiety as a young adult? Okay, and so the first thing I would like to say is that I would like to reiterate that anxiety around money is valid, especially when you're doing a life transition. And one of the things that we just said is that as a young adult, you're coming out of college, you're coming into a new segment, a new transition, a new shift. You're coming out of a school setting, you're embarking on becoming a young adult, you're separating yourself from your family of origin, you are getting into your career path, and you're establishing yourself, right? And so when you're establishing yourself, that is a life transition. You are trying to identify what life is going to look like for yourself, what your career path is going to look like. And so you're also establishing how you're going to manage your money. You are not behind. Your financial path is going to look different because it just really depends on how much money you're making. And so when you're thinking about how you're going to manage your money, you have to look at a budget, right? You have to look at the budget, and you have to figure out, what am I going to do with this money and how am I going to spend the money? So, the first thing you have to do is you have to think about your anxious mindset about the money, and you have to go from scarcity to sufficiency. You have to think about the fact that I have enough money for today. Am I able to pay my bills? am I able to take care of myself? And if you're able to take care of yourself, then you're good. If you're not able to take care of yourself, then we have to take a look at, what do I need to do to be able to pay my bills? Is it that the career path that I've chosen is one such that the salary doesn't cover the bills that I need to pay? Or is it that my earning potential has not been actualized? One of the things that I think about is that when I was ready to start looking at trying to buy a house, and so I was working in the human service field and I was a case manager. Tried to go to this housing program. The lady looked at my finances, she looked at my credit score and all of the things. Finances were what my finances were. In the human service field, you don't make a lot of money. Credit score was not bad, wasn't living above my means, but because of the fact that I was a case managers just don't make a lot of money. And so she said, you need to increase your earning potential. And I was like, well, how do I do that? Because case managers, this is what they make. And she was like, well, is it possible for you to work a part-time job or work another job? Because you need to make more money, because based on how much money you make, you only qualify for this amount of a house. And so at that time, I had a child. I was a single parent. I didn't have the ability to work another job. And so she said, well, if you don't have the ability to work another job, then you need to be able to put yourself in a position to get a promotion. So you need to start looking at trying to get a promotion so that you can be in management to make more money, because that was what was stopping me to be able to qualify to qualify for a house, is that I needed to earn more money. And so when you're thinking about this, I had to say, okay, I will not be able to qualify for a housing loan until I can make more money. So then I had to set a goal for myself that in the next 1 to 2 years, I needed to put myself in a position to get a job where I could be promoted to get into management, because that was the only way that I would be able to get into a house. So when you're thinking about money anxiety and looking at scarcity to sufficiency, you have to say, how can I make more money, if that is what you're looking at? And so if the role that you're in, if you don't have the potential to make more, then what is it that I need to do to be able to make more money? Do I need to get a promotion? Do I need to go back to school to get a master's degree so that my earning potential is increased? Or is it me paying dues so that I can work here and add to my professional toolkit so that I can earn more? You have to detach yourself from your self-worth to your net worth, right? My value is not based on my income. Just because you don't make a lot of money does not mean that you're not valued. It does not mean that as a human being, your skill set is not valuable. It just means that it does not translate into your network as of yet. You have to redefine what success looks like for you, right? So your internal stability is not the same as your external status. Just because I was a case manager does not mean that I did not have status. It just meant that being a case manager, I was not earning a lot of money. It didn't mean that what I was doing wasn't a valuable service. It just meant that the service was not one that commanded a lot of money. Practice gratitude for your financial wins. And so when I'm thinking about that, from that perspective, I'm thinking about, I was able to pay my bills. I was able to save money. I did not have a lot of debt. My credit score was great. It was just that the salary that I was making was not one that put me in a position to be able to get to the next level. And so then that was when I had to take a step back and say, how do I get to the next level? And so for me, the next level was a promotion. So when we're thinking about using some practical tools to help us decrease our money anxiety, we're looking at tracking your spending, looking at where your money goes. This is one of the things that a lot of people don't do. And one of the reasons I feel like we don't do this is because we don't use cash anymore. We use cards, right? We use a debit card. And so when you're swiping your card, tapping your card, tapping your watch, or something from that perspective, you're unconsciously using money. But when you're using your money, you're not really understanding that you're using your money. You don't see that money going out of your hands. You're not tangibly touching the money, and the money is being exchanged. But if you open your bank account on a weekly basis, or if you're looking at an app and you're looking at the summary and you're looking at you're spending this much on food or eating out, and you're using this much on a weekly basis with reference to coffee and dining out or clothing or going out with friends and social activities or entertainment and things from that perspective, then it lets you know what you're valuing on a weekly basis and if that is a realistic expectation for you and you're sticking within your budget. I feel like one of the other things that is important for you is to set micro goals instead of macro goals. Like people will say, well, I want to make sure that I save $10,000 every year. Okay, so what does that look like? And so instead of setting a macro goal, set it in micro doses. And so if I want to save $10,000 every year, what is that each month? What is that each week? How much needs to be set aside out of each time I get paid, and set it on autopilot so that it is taken and deducted and you don't see it. It automatically goes out of your account and it's put aside in an account that you don't see, that you don't have access to, so that you know that you are doing exactly what you said you wanted to do with reference to your savings. If you are seriously having difficulty with reference to your money anxiety, maybe that's something that you need to seek professional help with. You could look at it from a therapeutic perspective. You could get some therapy with reference to your money anxiety. You can also get some coaching support to explore your financial traumas as well as limiting those beliefs. You could practice some mindfulness with reference to taking some deep breathing, some journaling before making financial decisions, looking at different ways of when you're triggered. Are you triggered when you have to make big purchases? Are you triggered when an unexpected emergency happens? Are you triggered when you have to spend your money? Are you triggered when something happens? There is a life event. What is going on with you, and you noticed when your money anxiety is up? And so recognizing when you're triggered and then understanding how to cope with those things, those are the things that you can work through with some professionals. The last thing I would say is that another tool would be identifying some financial literacy resources. Looking at these resources, they could be podcasts, they could be books, there could be apps that help you hone in on the specifics once you identify what your triggers are, so that you can overcome those things and be better equipped to work on your money anxiety, so that it is no longer mastering you and that you have mastered it. The first step in it is definitely recognizing that you have money anxiety, and then identifying what triggers your money anxiety and then coping with it. I hope that you have found this conversation about money anxiety very interesting, and that I hope that it helps you work through your money anxiety so that you can elevate your mindset and continue talking with us. Until the next time, I will see you soon.